spite of your laryngitis. Mr. Weitzman, you're recognized for 5 minutes, and let me inform witnesses and members that we are expecting 4 votes very soon. We'll get through the testimony, and if the votes are called, then we'll recess as briefly as possible for those votes and come back. I hope that won't inconvenience the panel. Mr. Weitzman, please summarize your testimony for 5 minutes.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee, for inviting me to speak to you today on such an important topic. Let me begin by saying that we have been tracking the Simon Wiesenthal Center instances of Internet extremism going back to the mid-1980s, when they began as offshoots of U.S. extremists such as Tom Metzger, Louis Beam, David Duke, etc., in the early bulletin board systems, and have subsequently expanded. One of the things that we have discovered is that some of the methods used by both our homegrown extremists as well as international extremists are the same, by trying to appeal to a closed group that is create a closed environment. They help influence the process of radicalization, as has been described earlier. I am not going to continue by summing up the written testimony as much as I would like to demonstrate some of the things that we're talking about and the panel has discussed already. So we have a short PowerPoint that I'd like to bring into this as well and illustrate some of the things that, that we have talked about. So if it, okay, we can just keep going through all these at the beginning. Some of these are conspiracy theories that present a closed view of the world, such as blaming 9/11 as in part of an outside job or a job by outside groups such as the U.S. government, let's keep going, or Jews, etc. Some of these are pro-Iraqi insurgency videos. Some of them are media portals that people can enter into. The ones that you saw earlier with the flags on them, the U.S. flags, show that they were based on U.S. servers. These, as we keep going through, we can see that these are, again, from Al-Qaeda, but you see the cross of Christianity, the Star of David, etc., as the symbols being under attack. And this is just a chart that shows how to attack and break up the U.S. forces in Iraq. And if we keep going through there, we see that, as a matter of fact, that the CIA is even mentioned by name in it. And that's followed by a Taliban document, website. I'm going a little faster than the thing there. That's okay. Keep going. Let's keep going through. A Taliban chart that deals with how to keep going. This is more than the same. Keep going through, Carrie.
While you're doing this, these are readily accessible.
These are readily accessible.
Our teenagers and young adults.
Servers. There's actually nothing to stop them. And keep going through. I apologize for the delay. The Al-Qaeda principle of jihad, what they talked about electronic jihad, and talked about literally tracking American and Jewish and secular targets as well. There's an encyclopedia of jihad available online, shows you how to make a car bomb, and it continues as we go through cyanide bombs, you can see for yourselves, all the way through. Keep going. How to use cell phones as detonators. And this, again, this is translated into English, rules of making explosives, and how to be careful around the explosives and so on. There's a Taliban training manual that I mentioned earlier. And you can see, again, cell phones and other items, including RPG, rocket-propelled grenade launchers. And if we keep going through, we'll see, again, GPS systems being used. So these are really manuals of how to become a jihadist online. The Media Sword campaign is online. I just went to it last night and found items that told you exactly how to train to enter a non-Islamist music forum, for example, and to use that as a propaganda tool for getting your message across. Discussion groups based in the United States as well that bring these topics into anyone's home. And finally, if we go, these are some Latin American sites that use Iranian propaganda word and also link to U.S. extremist sites. For example, a U.S. site that talks about exiling, has a poll about whether to exile blacks from every Western country and claims 100,000 people have voted in favor of exiling blacks. That would be that site. And if we keep going through, coming to the next category are the category of online games, which are used to attract children. Some of these games are, for example, a game of New York Defender, which was originally Russian in origin. then this is an anti-gay game where you have to kill the gay guy before a rape, or how to be a suicide bomber. Finally, Border Patrol. The object is to shoot as many illegal immigrants coming across. Now, obviously, the games target young people, help to inculcate a mindset in them, and to change that into a social policy, such as supporting stringent controls. And then finally, we end with a site that literally talks about bombing of soon will be the attack on Manhattan, dated September 2nd, 2007. So, I mean, I think, as I said, in some ways, the best way to have illustrated the problem, along with the written testimony, was these sites. In conclusion, if I could just mention a few very brief recommendations. First is that we have to be aware of the empowering effect of the Internet on extremists. We must have researchers and responders who have both the technical and the linguistic skills to keep us informed and to be able to respond to what is online. We must make users aware of the misinformation and the techniques used by extremists. We must have increased cooperation internationally among the political, law enforcement, NGO, academic, and all other interested sectors. There must be the political will to legally act when necessary. We also must be prepared to invest in positive sites. So far, we've talked only about negative, but in positive sites that can present alternative narratives to that's being constructed by the Islamists. We at the Wiesenthal Center have made a start in that by creating a site called askmusa.org, which is an attempt to present in Arabic, Farsi, and other languages views on Jews and Judaism not related to the Middle East conflict in a direct and unmediated fashion. In many ways, we have ceded the Internet to our enemies, and the result has been extremely harmful. However, even in a globalized world, there's no reason to believe that this condition is permanent. But we need to focus our efforts better and to invest more resources in the struggle. As the famous Holocaust survivor and the namesake of our center, Simon Wiesenthal, wrote in 1989, the combination of hatred and technology is the greatest threat facing mankind. How we face that threat might well define the world we will live in the near future. Thank you.